Belk Simpson's department store in Greenville, South Carolina, and selected our china. Yeah, our china. And, then it was registered and the word went out, and relatives that we've never heard of before then or after then would buy us a table setting or a glass or, you know how it goes. A lot of homes, they still have this setting of really fine china. It's really expensive. In fact, after my home and my car, it's probably the most expensive thing that we own. And it's really kind of fragile. Consequently, this fine china gets brought out maybe 2 times a year. That's about right. About 2 times a year we bring out the fine china. And it's definitely not a part of everyday life. In fact, if this china could speak, it would know virtually nothing about the Sanders family life. It would only know itty-bitty little snippets, because fine china only comes out on rare occasions. Maybe that's true for you too. Now, the fact is, hey, feel free to come and get a seat. It's okay. You won't bother me a lot. See, the problem is, in many homes, God is like fine china. God's not an everyday deal in many homes. In fact, like fine china, God comes out maybe a couple of times a year, like around Christmas and Easter maybe. Or maybe God comes out, once a week or most every week when Sunday rolls around. Some homes, God doesn't even really come out at all. I don't know what it was like for you as you grew up or what your home is like now. But in so many homes, God is simply like fine china, reserved for rare occasions, not a part of everyday life. But here's the reality. If we actually want to impact the next generation, if we want to help the next generation, our children, develop a vibrant relationship with God, if we want to transmit our values and our faith to our children, so that as they mature and make their way in the world, they can fulfill their destiny. They can impact their generation with the good news of Jesus. If we want that to happen, God can't be like fine china. God has got to become a part of the everyday experience in our family life. Now, if you've been around for the last couple of weeks, you probably know that we're in a series called Parenting Beyond Your Capacity. This series is based on 2 premises. The first one is this: Christianity is not about helping us to get a better picture of the perfect family, because there are no perfect families. But rather, Christianity is about a better story, God's story. A story of grace and redemption, of transformation and reconciliation. A story where God gets to be the hero and we get to be the recipients of his goodness and his power. And the second premise is this: God has already put a plan in place to help every one of us parent beyond our capacity. To parent better than our weaknesses say we ought to parent. Better than our ignorances says we ought to parent. Better than our flaws and dysfunctions say we ought to parent. We can parent way beyond our capacity to give our kids a great chance of turning out really well. Now, it so happens that this plan that God has in place is found in large measure in one passage of Scripture, Deuteronomy chapter 6. And we've been working through that passage to discover 5 principles that if we'll embrace, we'll be able to parent. We'll be able to grandparent. We'll be able to mentor the next generation far beyond our inherent capability. We've looked at 3 of the principles so far. We looked at widen the circle. If we want to really help our kids to connect with God and fulfill their destiny, they need more voices than our own speaking into their lives. Voices that also come from the faith community. Which is why, A, we need to take advantage of strategic partnerships, other people speaking into our kids' lives, and we need to become a strategic partner. Because we collectively as a community have a responsibility for helping the next generation discover God and His plan for their lives. We looked at the second principle just 2 weeks ago. And that one was we wanted to fight for the heart. You see, whenever there is a conflict in the home, the most important thing for a parent is not to win the battle. The most important thing is to make sure that we conduct ourselves in a way that hearts remain open to us so that we can continue to influence. And then we've also seen that if we really want to parent beyond our capacity, we need to focus on what matters most. And what matters most, the North Star that you got all of our parenting, is our children developing a vibrant relationship with God. And today we want to look at the fourth of the 5 principles from Deuteronomy 6 on being able to parent beyond our capacity. And we might call this particular principle that we want to zero in on this morning, we might want to call it this. There we go. Oh, actually, that's the big idea behind it. And the big idea is that you parent beyond your capacity when you increase the quantity of quality time you spend with your kids by bringing God into the rhythm of everyday life. This is the principle of creating a rhythm. And if we can create a rhythm where we increase the quantity of quality time we spend with our kids, by bringing God into the everyday of life, we can parent far beyond our capacity. Now, you know what we need to do as we get started here? We need to address the quantity time versus quality time debate. Anybody familiar with that debate? Anybody familiar with it? You know, as a parent, is it how much time you spend with your kids? Or is that not really so important as spending really, really quality time with your kids? I mean, what is the answer to this whole quantity time versus quality time debate? Well, let's see if an analogy might help us to kind of figure out how this should work. Let's say that I'm a member of a health club. Okay? And I spend 4 or 5 days a week at that health club. And I do all sorts of things. I take my laptop because there's free Wi-Fi and I can check my email. Pretty cool. Hey, I got some friends there and we hang a little bit. They got a jacuzzi. It's really nice. I probably spend an hour or 2 a week in that jacuzzi. It's great. I even wander around the exercise rooms and I learn about how the treadmill works and how the stair climber works. And I look with fascination at these big, heavy cast iron objects that some people feel compelled to pick up and lift over their head. But I'm there 5 times a week. I'm there a lot. Question: am I going to develop my health and wellness? I'm there a lot. Is it going to work? How many says, Dad, that sounds like an awesome exercise plan to me? No, don't raise your hand. Yeah, I do. I knew some of you would do that. Yeah, well, you know what? If simply quantity of exposure works, well, then that would be a good plan for health and wellness. But we go, no, that doesn't work. Now, what if I had a different plan? I said, okay, I'm a member of this fitness club, and I go into that fitness club on Monday, and I am there for 5 hours. I begin with about a 5-mile warm-up jog. After that, I do Pilates. Then I do some yoga stretching. Then I go into the weight room, and I am pumping iron like crazy. After about an hour of pumping iron, I get on the Stairmaster, and I finish everything off with a 45-minute killer interval routine on a Stairmaster. 5 hours. I get up the next day. Actually, I can't get up the next day. I can't get up the next day. Either 2 days later, I'm finally able to get out of bed. And I'm going, okay, that was pretty good. I'm going to do that again. And I do. 5 months later. 5 months later, I get up, I do the exact same thing, man. It's killer. I'm getting everything I've got. If I were to do that 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, would that develop my health?